The final hour has come. We are leaving Mobile for the final time for this work assignment. I wanted to stop by and see one last place here in Mobile before we leave town real quick. It's not much, so that's why I want to see it before we leave town. You know, normally these occasions are kind of sad when we're having to leave after being in a location for several months. But today is kind of a blessing because we're getting to go home. Her next assignment is actually going to be in our home city, so we'll get to sleep in our own bed for the next few months, besides traveling for filming and those type things. So I've already got the car packed up. I've done our once over. I've carried all the trash in the room out. There's nothing left to do but to get on the road. So I guess I'll cue the intro, and then when we come back, maybe we're gonna stop somewhere before we leave Mobile because I want to see something. Headed to this location that I wanted to see before we left Mobile, and I just happened to pass this. This thing looks really cool. Submarine. Oh, they even have a plaque here talking about its history. This yellow submarine began as an idea to gather treasures from the tropical ocean floor. The tube with the pointed cap that sticks out from under the front of the craft, which would be this right here, was designed to work like a vacuum cleaner, pulling in treasures from the deep and trapping them in a screened enclosure at the rear while the water rushed through. In the early 60s, they salvaged a 300-foot troop transporter submerged in the Mobile Bay. Looking at the thing, they had dome glass that not only come out of the front here, but also came out of the roof. You can actually see the hole there where the dome was. During Hurricane Katrina, all this area flooded and those domes were lost. All of this would have been like engines, fans, so it could maneuver under the water, and it had shock absorbers to move it around. Basically, it was decommissioned in the 60s. They painted it yellow in honor of the Beatles' yellow submarine and positioned it out here on display. There would also have been some fans here in the back, and you can see the large rudder there, which would have helped it move under the water. Very cool. That was just very random, very random to pass by this just off the side of the road. Actually, right where I'm standing at one point in time was going to be a welcome center for people to come and see the remains of the African village. There's actually still people that live in the residences, but the very last slave ship to come into America before the emancipation brought those slaves right here into Mobile, Alabama, and they came right here where we're standing. There's plans in the works to turn it into a welcome center, so they constructed this giant ramp, which has now become a home for young kiddies. But this was one of the homes from the village as well. If you look in the trees, you can see one back there in the woods that's not accessible. I don't know why they have halted construction on the welcome center. I don't know if it has, if it's money related or what, but this was one of the first things they built for that welcome center. It had some statues on it at one point, which are now broken and falling apart. And here's another statue that's broken. So if you look over here, there's more remains of old homes. And in fact, there's another one over here. They surround this entire area. This entire piece of property right here where I'm standing, this was an entire village. And this was where the last ship brought that whole group of people, families, multiple families, individuals by themselves. They brought them right here to this town. And now there's nothing left of it. So what you have to understand about the times, obviously it was a much different time, and kind of like drugs, slavery had already been made illegal, but that did not stop the slave traders from trying to smuggle people into the United States as slaves. So a ship named the Coltide brought a group of individuals over to the country who founded this entire town, which would be later called Africatown. It was also called Plateau at one time. And that group of people who come from the Coltide were the last known documented slaves brought to America ever. and they made their home. They just made it out of nothing right here on top of this little plateau, on top of this little mound. There's the sign where this is supposed to be the future home, but it almost looks like all of the construction efforts have halted. The Old Plateau Cemetery, here's the placard. Old Plateau Cemetery, Africatown Graveyard. It is the final resting place of the enslaved African Americans and a Buffalo Soldier. The burial ground dates back to 1876, 16 years after Africans arrived on the Coltita, which was one of the last documented slave ships to leave Africa for the Americas. But it kind of looks like that side over there looks to be newer than this side. So I'm gonna say that some of the graves from the African Americans who came on the Coltata, I'm gonna say they're probably gonna be on this side somewhere. Those don't even have anything written on them. Here's a giant tombstone here, but if you look down on the tombstone, Plateau, Alabama, Africatown, USA, last survivor slave ship Coltide, 1860. Whoever this person was, they came on board the last documented slave ship to America. And I'm gonna assume probably all these older ones are probably the same. Some of them, it looks like they may have gotten new headstones. Some of these don't even have any headstones. But right here, this is it. This is all of the people who come aboard that last slave ship into America. They're all buried right here. Some of these things are not in good shape anymore. And that's kind of sad. Look, Private, U.S. Army, World War II. And his grave is sunken in. This one you can see all the way down underneath it. Look at this old guy over here. This is another survivor from the slave ship right there. There's another one right there by itself. The stories that these people had to tell, I can only imagine, were amazing. Obviously, it wasn't a good thing at all to be on board the Coltata. These people were on it, they survived it, and they deserve much respect. A lot more than what some of these gravestones, what some of these tombstones are getting. They deserve much more respect than that. That was it. That was what I wanted to show you today. So much rich history right here in Mobile, Alabama. And what a fitting way to end and leave Mobile. We are done. Amy's contract is up here. Her next contract starts in Montgomery in just a couple of days from now. So we're getting on the road and we're headed home. I'm not gonna end this one yet. I'll pick this one back up from Montgomery, Alabama. We are back home in Montgomery. Before it gets too late, we got a couple of things that we are going to do. But right now we're at the ball field. My niece has a softball game tonight. It's kind of surreal. I don't think it's really hit yet that we don't have to go back to Mobile. Not because we have to. You know, if we go back to Mobile, it's just because we want to. And I don't think it's really hit yet. It feels like a normal day. Another thing that's going on here in the city right now, the Alabama National Fair started yesterday, and it'll run almost 2 weeks here in the city. And there's a few big names who will be playing concert there. One of them I will work. I worked it last year. Same person's coming back. Fantasia. The first one we will miss. It's happening tonight and we won't be going tonight. And that's Trace Adkins, the country music singer. In between Trace Adkins and Fantasia is another band, and I know one of the guys in it, so we're definitely gonna be going to check it out. We're gonna go enjoy my niece's softball game. It's Kylie. It's Kylie right there. She's pitching now.
I don't know how many she got her or contact Facebook thing, so I sent her a message. Couldn't heard a film, but I haven't heard that.
Softball is wrapping up, so we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go ahead and end this video now. I want to thank you all for watching. I'm so happy that I'm not having the issues with the footage anymore. I just want to film. I want to be able to edit that video and upload it. I don't want to take over a week to film and edit 2 videos. I just don't like that. So thank goodness we're back to normal now. Thank you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a good one.